lot of people, a lot of women and a few men, thank you guys for sharing your stories with me, clearly are going through this right now or have. And as I said in this video about walking away from a person and a woman going fully no access, it leaves a scar. So this is the most watched video I've ever had, the most comments I've ever had, tried to go through all of them. But this shows me that what I said definitely hit home. And when I tell you it's a scar, it's a deep emotional scarring that people just don't understand when women have to do this. I just wanted to touch on some questions because I do think I pose these videos so that we could get better and that I can share the things that I've learned. So I do want to touch on a few questions if that helps the community and, especially some of the younger women that are in these comments that really do feel like they need a little bit of guidance. So I have, and these comments are not to bash anybody, at least not in this post, because I will come from motherfuckers that come from me in other posts, but these are just great things that I saw that I want to touch on that maybe I think I can add to. Okay. So Victoria says, you should not even give them one warning. Now, I used to have this thought too. I used to believe this. And what I learned was that people can't read your minds. And what I've learned through therapy is that a lot of things that we accept are our responsibility. So if you aren't clear about what you expect and what the alternatives to not getting your expectations are, you're not necessarily operating in a full adult relationship. You're not being an adult. And I think this kind of leans into the tough conversations people are afraid to have as adults, right? Women are told that we are not supposed to be demanding or that we're not supposed to want. We're told that we shouldn't have wants. And a lot of times we have been brainwashed to believe that our boundaries are evil and they're preventing us from being with a man because in the society, we've been told that men are the end all be all to our lives. And don't get me wrong, being with a good man, because I've had at least 2 good men in my life, like good men, you know what I mean? Who have families of good men. So being with a good man is a blessing, okay? But it's not the end all be all to our lives. We function and live well without them, scientifically, okay? So all this to say, what I don't want is for people to think that you should not give a warning because you have to do the work too. It's not just about them. So as a woman, we have to learn to communicate things in a very concise, clear way. And I've learned to do that. It's taken time. Don't get me twisted. I've really had to practice. I've even had to hit up my guy friends and be like, I want to say this, put it in a man, concise sentence so I can explain this. And over time, I've gotten real much better about how I explain my needs and wants and expectations. Okay. So I don't really think that it's fair to ever, with anybody, to assume that anybody can read your mind because they fucking can't. And as grown people, it is our responsibility to speak on what we need. Okay. Now, after that warning though, after this is not okay with me, I don't like this. This is what I need. Like the last dude I had to cut off. If I don't get a date by Sunday, I'm done. I'm not talking to you for 3 weeks on the FaceTime. I'm not trying to be your professional pen pal. After that warning, then you dip. But it is our responsibility to be mature adults as well. Feel me? Also, the reason why I find this to also be very important is because then they can never say, you never told them. There's never, dudes that I've told, yo, this is what it is. So you could try me or you could just be an adult and meet me halfway. You can never, ever, ever guess why I don't fuck with you no more. It was clear. I told you what I needed. You chose not to give it. And now I'm out. And I have a clean conscience and break about it. Just want to add that. All right, and then we have Michael Amori's comment. I hope I'm saying your name right. If I'm not, I'm sorry. No, she says, I can't see male or female, but no, because why do we have to be the ones to show them the value of appreciating us? I used to ask myself this question too. Why do I have to do this? Why can't people just know? Why don't people just see? Because people don't. And I didn't start shifting to the other side of this until 38. And now at 42, I can tell you clear as day. People don't. People see you how you value you, period. And some of them will take a lot longer to understand your value. But when they look back and they see that you still are standing on your own value and you could back up your own shit that you talk, they'll have to recognize it. And then there's even those people that secretly in the back of their mind know your value. But whatever demons and past trauma they haven't addressed or whatever, isms they're dealing with in their lives won't allow them to just acknowledge it. But that's not your problem. That's not your problem. Your problem is, how do you make sure that your interactions are with people who appreciate you and value you? The only way you can do that is to advocate for yourself. The only way to do that is to treat yourself of value, to accept things of value, period. And I know. You know how many times I've had people tell me when I was in my younger days, you can't expect everybody to be like you. Not everybody thinks like you. Not everybody's fair like you. Not everybody's going to be kind like you or considerate or thoughtful. And the more I live, the more I find that to be true. And the only thing that has changed is me. And the way I move. And that could be in business too, honey. Let's talk about it. The only thing that has changed, that has brought me peace, is what I accept. What I accept and who I fuck with. And I might have to sift through all these dudes that are giving me nothing, no energy, no effort. But you know what? I'd rather do that than be around someone that I'm waiting to understand me, waiting to see the value in me, I'm good. Life is short, y'all. Life is fucking short. I could have sworn I was 31 2 days ago. Life is short. Your time is your time. You decide how you're going to use it. I just choose not to use it with motherfuckers that don't appreciate me across the board. And you have the right to do that as well. Okay, and this is another comment from Lindsay. I saw another video recently saying cheating actually changes the brain's chemistry composition like PTSD. It makes complete sense on how it psychologically makes you feel. And I want to add to this, yes. So this is why I talk about the abuse that I've gone through, because it literally changed the chemistry of my brain. And I don't think I understood how all of these little micro traumas, you know, the abandonment, all of those things change your brain, but they do inflict a scar that is very much PTSD-like, right? When you are constantly with someone who you love, trust, want to be with, you feel should be your protector, therefore he should be honoring and protecting your feelings and emotions, and he chooses to, or they choose to do the opposite. That is, those are like micro betrayals, right? And all of our brain synapses are being rewired based on what happens in our lives. And it's literally like, you may not see the scars in your brain, but you'll start to see them in how you look at yourself. You'll start to see them in how you walk into a room or out of a room. You'll start to see it in how your body, like one thing I notice now. So like when I talk about the dating videos that I post, I always talk about how I check in with myself. I check in with my body, because when I came out of that emotionally abusive relationship, I went to a body scan randomly on the street at a farmer's market. And when I tell you, like, my shit was so off the charts in the black, and I was only 32 at the time, and the doctor said you have the body of an 85-year-old. That is how these things start to affect your brain and start to affect your body, okay? So this is also like a reason why I think, because women have started to do more of the emotional scientific work on abuse and boundaries and how our lives are good or bad with the certain types of partnerships, we are making choices to have no access. And I think we also have been brainwashed to believe that love should feel chaotic and love should feel dramatic and push-pull and all like this shit that fucks with your dopamine and your oxytocin. And that's what we have been told is what we should look for energetically within ourselves. But what I found, looking back on my life and the men that I am drawn to now, whether or not it works or not, is that I actually have the opposite feeling with them. I had calm when I was in love. When I was with my good men, I felt at peace. I felt soft. I felt seen. I felt taken care of. I felt like I could be myself. I felt like I didn't have to hold everything in because he couldn't fucking handle anything I had to say, because he's going to flip the fuck out every time I have a thought or a feeling or an opinion. He actually cared. And that brings calm to a woman, right? So I think this just kind of adds to the point of why no access can be even further necessary when you see someone is literally abusing your time and energy. Good point. Okay, and the last comment that I thought was really poignant, from the ones I could get to, I learned this yesterday, because clearly she learned. We have to stop requiring deep betrayal to be our baseline for denying access. You earn far too many scars when you allow someone to drag you down that low. And she basically goes into saying, like, it affects your self-esteem. You shouldn't let your self-esteem get affected. And I fully agree with this. I think that life is learning, and a lot of us have to learn. I think that is the process of this whole thing on this planet, right? But I feel like you, Miss I Lived Yesterday, you're on my level at this point. And she goes on to say something like, the first signs that you see, that needs to be your tell. Now, I fully agree with this, and I'll just give you some examples of signs that I see. Like, if you're on a dating app, or even dudes that I meet out that, like, actually talk to me and have, because men don't talk to me in public, but the men that, like, actually, the few have, and have asked me out or whatever, that is one of my signs. I start clocking their inconsistencies right away. Like, if you tell me that you're going to be available at a certain time and I see that you're not, you're already showing me you're inconsistent. You're already showing me that I can't trust anything you say. You're already showing me that more than likely you're going to be someone who's going to affect my self-esteem because you can't be consistent in what you said you wanted to do and follow through with it. And this is something on the bare minimum baseline of I'm just interested in getting to know you. So yeah, I fully agree with this. When I meet guys online, and I'm talking to them for a little bit, if they don't want to follow what my comfortable boundaries are, then we don't need to talk. A match. If you tell me, if I say, because one of my boundaries is, I give a little bit longer. You have 2 weeks to ask me out. If you don't, then I match. If you ask me on a FaceTime date and you don't follow through, or I tell you my requirement for me to give any of my personal information is for me to FaceTime you until I feel comfortable giving you my personal information, because I don't want motherfuckers having access to me. I just don't. And I have the right to do that. So if I see that I give you that and you're like, cool, I'd love to talk to you. And I say, great, 8 p.m. Let me know what day works for you. And you give me a day, and then I'm there at 8, because I'm the type of person that as an adult, I respect your time, so I expect you to respect mine. So that means that I could have been doing some shit with cackling with my friends somewhere, but I chose to carve out time for you, and then you chose to do nothing. A match, block. There's nothing to come back from that. If you leave me on red after you try to edge back the energy, because dudes will do that shit all the time on the apps. Like, you'll try to breadcrumb some question, or you'll try to breadcrumb some interaction to edge back the energy in your favor as they think. And then just to have me on red for 5 days, then there's no need to talk. You've already shown me that you're someone who can't be trusted. You've already shown me that you're a double-minded man, and a double-minded man can't be trusted, and that's biblical. So I fully agree with what this woman is saying, but I also know life is learning, and you have to learn. And it takes time to get to that level. But the goal is to stop using deep betrayal as the baseline of denying access.